Hi, this is John Forsland, TV voice of the Carolina Hurricanes. You're watching the Power Play Break, the place to talk about pucks.
Back here in the Power Play Break with Alana Blahoski. Let's get into now, you just told me before that 95, you find out they're going to have women's ice hockey to go to Nagano in 1998. I mean, did that perk up the locker room for you guys? All of a sudden, wow, we're going to actually, there's something that's going to be we can shoot for just besides women's ice hockey here in college. Now we have something to really go for.
I think so. I mean, our team at Providence, the 4 years I was there, we had won 3 of the 4 years. My senior year, we lost in the 5th overtime period to University of New Hampshire at their new arena. I think it was the Whitmore Center, which was really large and really warm. So we had quite a hockey tradition at Providence. And so I think a lot of the girls on the team, once we heard the news that it was going to be an Olympic sport, really were that much more motivated.
Did, like, you know, you say to yourselves, oh my God, we could be the team like 1980. I mean, you know, did it carry that kind of weight for you guys? Are you excited, like, oh my gosh, you know, like, were you guys all like, you know, oh my, I'm really going to do this, or I want to try out, or I want to make the team? I mean, I
think people were sort of nervously excited, you know, or there was like a quiet excitement. It wasn't really vocalized, wasn't really expressed.
Like nobody came up to you and said, hey, this is going to be great. I can't wait for this.
You know, I think at the beginning it was like, you know, we couldn't really believe it. We're like, really? It's going to be an Olympic sport? Like, really? Like, let's just hang in there because maybe they're going to take it away. You know, like it was always kind of that, let's be cautious about it. You know, and then I think once people started to graduate, then, you know, they really put everything they had into the training.
Well, you get out in '96. What did you do for that time period? I mean, what did you have to fill the gap? I mean,
so I decided to accept the offer to be the assistant coach of the Providence women's team the year after I graduated. I lived in Boston, well, in Dorchester with the O'Sullivan family. They took me in and we did our training. I did my training in Boston. We started working with Mike Boyle from BU, and we really kind of went full on.
Ben Smith gets named the head coach. He's from Northeastern University, has a tremendous track record with USA Hockey. Did you feel a woman should have gotten that position, or it didn't really make a difference to you guys? It was,
no,
you wanted the most qualified individual.
Gosh, you know what? I get in so much trouble for saying this. I made a comment when I was coaching in Torino about just how, you know, and I should have maybe taken it more from a personal, my personal experience. I respond very well to male, you know, authority figures, like when they're my coach.
Dad taught you in the beginning.
My dad taught me. He was my coach. You know, I had one female coach that I really absolutely thought just, you know, she inspired me. She was tough, never showed favoritism, like, and that was Jackie Bardo at Providence College. And, you know, Coach Smith, he was, for that team in '98, I mean, I remember, you know, we all got very emotional when we got to Nagano, and everybody thought, not only was he an authoritative figure, he was our coach, we would take a bullet for him, but he was also like a father figure to a lot of us on the team. And I don't think anyone thought twice about it. I mean, at that time, college hockey, there weren't too many women coaching, really.
No, it was mainly
men, and so I don't know that anybody really thought too much about that.
Talk about the tryouts. I mean, was that intense for you? I mean, did you mentally have to prepare? I mean, were you saying to yourself, I mean, you know, everybody knows when you try out for something at that level, there's a tremendous amount of pressure you have to put on yourself. I mean, there must be days you say, oh my God, I don't think I did well today. I mean, I hope they're not taking notes, or, you know, I mean, you have to kind of sit there and say to yourself, I really want this, but am I going to get this? Because maybe I'm not what they're looking for. Remember, as Herb Brooks once said, I'm not looking for the best players, I'm looking for the right players.
Yeah, and you know, I never really fully understood how you fill a roster when you're the coach until I was on the coaching side of it. And I had a really, you know, really incredible time in '98. I made the team, and then in 2002, I was cut from the team. And you know, the tryouts for '98, it was.
Where were they, in Colorado or in Boston?
Man, you know what? I think they were at Lake Placid. They were at Lake Placid.
Okay.
They were at Lake Placid. And I just remember, you have all sorts of nervous energy, and you have to find a way to channel that into efficiently and productively into what you're doing. So, you know, you'd have to skate faster, not more frantically, you know?
Yes.
And then I remember going into a room, and I remember them reading names on a list, and I believe the way they did it, because they would do it this way every time after, they would read alphabetically the ones who made the team. So, you know, after a few, yeah, I knew exactly where my name was going to fall. And, you know, my heart was like really racing, and I could hear it. And I was listening and listening and listening, and heard my name. And then, of course, you can't believe it. I'm like, wait a second, did I hear it? Did I not hear it? Like, wait, you know, I want to be sure. And yeah, it was, I called my dad right away, who was so happy. And then it was,
well, I mean, did Smitty say to you, just because you made it here doesn't mean you're still on the team? I mean, did that go through?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the general message, because I think 26 people made it at that point, and the roster was going to be cut down.
Yes.
So there were still decisions to be made. So you still were never really quite able to relax, ever. You know, you had
But now you make the team, and now you're going to go on a barnstorming tour, basically, because did you have to go play other women's, like, collegiate teams to tune up for this? I mean, and there was also, I remember a couple of tournaments that you guys had to go to overseas to tune up for this whole thing.
Yeah, we would play like women's, like the collegiate sort of all-star teams. They would take, you know, the top players from every team, and then we would play them. And we played a lot of, we would play the boys' prep schools, like whether it was up in Lake Placid or we played Salisbury. The men's team, they would just take the hitting aspect out of the game, which you know, it created a little trouble for them, because they were so used to relying on the hitting.
People, yeah.
And obviously it was much better for us to not have to worry about that. But yeah, I mean, we were on tour then. You know, we had to have our passports ready, and wherever they told us to go, and whenever they told us.
Was it fun? I mean, was it a good time?
Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, here you are, you're young, you're having a great time.
Yeah.
I mean, anything interesting, funny go on at that point? Any practical jokes being played, or was it more of like Smitty wanted a more cohesive unit between everybody?
No, there were a lot of practical jokes, and we were up in Canada, I believe, and I still don't know to this day how she pulled it off, but we had this girl on the team, Barb Gordon, and she decided that it would be really funny for her to get me and my roommate, Sarah DaCosta. So we land in Canada, I don't know, go to dinner or something, and she runs to the local like hardware store, gets a 5-pound bag of birdseed and some saran wrap. So she gets into our room, she tells the front desk she lost her key, whatever. They let her into our room, she saran wraps the toilet bowl, and then she puts about 5 pounds of birdseed in my bed, and then made the bed, right? So Sarah and I finally, like later that night, get into the room, and I'm about to jump into bed, and I have like, I don't know, like shorts on or something, and Sarah, ironically enough, at the same time is about to go to the bathroom. So all of a sudden she starts going to the bathroom, and she's like, this is so weird, I'm like peeing on myself, and I jump into my bed, and I scream, because you know, you feel like a little pebble in your bed. Never mind.
So you might think it's a bed bug. It could be
like a swarm, like a village of them, and I jump out, and I lift up the covers, and it's like birdseed, and I'm like, aha. And Sarah knew right away. She was like, aha. So it was like that type of thing where, yeah, you know, you had to make it really fun. And luckily, we had a lot of really great people on the team who had great senses of humor.
Good timing.
Yeah, and very good timing.
Now, 6 players from PC's program make that team. Did it feel like it was almost you're back at Providence College, or did you say to yourselves, wow, you know, that program was so good, look, 6 of us made it?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the program was so good. It was so good. We had such great players that we kind of knew there would be, you know, a really good representation of Providence College on the team. And, you know, I think for me, it was just, it felt familiar. You know, having those players. I mean, we had formed such a bond. You know, even the 1 year I played with Cammie. You know, I mean, you're on a team, you're traveling everywhere, you win a national championship together. And I remember when Cammie graduated, I said to her, I'm going to play on another team with you. I know I will. Like, I'm going to play on another hockey team with you. And she ended up being my Olympic teammate. And so it was we were close knit, and the support from everybody, I think, really, and the encouragement, I think, really helped me on a personal level.
Now, leading up, you know, the Olympic tour gets pretty intense. When they make the final roster cuts, I mean, did everybody, you know, there's the Ralph Cox story with the 1980 team. He doesn't make the team. Were you all relieved? Was there a sense of like, oh my God, it wasn't me?
You know, we were actually, we were in New York City. Well, it was right before we came to New York City. We're kind of the final cuts. And my friend, the jokester, prankster, Barb Gordon was cut, and a couple of other people were cut. And, you know, you go through many emotions because you say goodbye to your friends, and you're in disbelief because of the talent that was let go. Mm-hmm. You know, you're like, wow. And it goes back to that, you know, when you select someone for a team, a number of things could come into play for their selection. And it's not always like, you know, the top scorer. Or, so you're in disbelief, and I think we were all kind of in disbelief and somewhat relieved. But so we had to come to Chelsea Piers, and we actually had to play a charity game, like a little exhibition game, and everybody was just, you know, and just really emotional and not really into the game. But you know, it's difficult. It's difficult when you spend so much time with people, and then to have to say goodbye, and to realize, you know, your dream may come true, and
their dream is crushed.
And their dream is crushed.
When we get back, we're going to head to Nagano and talk about what happened at the Olympics.